Hold on one second. Ruben McKenzie.
Yes, sir.
How
Can you
you
hear
doing,
me?
Ruben?
I'm doing good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was late like 10 minutes. I was trying to get here.
Oh,
I
it's all
really need
good.
this information. I'm just looking at what you done gave thus far. It's like, wow, it's really valuable. God bless you. This is really what we really be needing. The,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
financial piece. This is
absolutely.
everything.
And it's
Yeah.
I'm sorry to stop, Lady D, Lady Di,
That's
but
okay.
okay. So the biggest thing, like I was telling her, is individuals will call me, while I'm working all day, and and not know how to utilize or how to leverage hard money, and it'll take my time, an hour or 2 hours, explaining to them and actually teaching them. So I'm like, you know what? Why don't I talk to you on this date? Why don't I talk to you on this date, and I can give you an hour or two of my time. So you better understand how to recognize a deal that's coming through, so that way you're not asking me questions all day. Let's go get to the money, right? Go find the deal, bring it back, and let's get to the money. So that's why I started doing this, to make sure everybody had an opportunity to at least ask questions at the same time. And everybody, a lot of people will have the same questions, right? So the questions will be answered by someone else that had it. So, and that's why I did it. But let me keep on going. Where'd you come in at, Ruben, so I understand where you're at?
Like at I think like 15 minutes into the conversation, I came in.
So let me ask you a question. So exactly what do you do right now with real estate? Are you in real estate? Are you looking to get into real estate? What's your goal?
I have some we have rental properties right now.
Okay.
One in Florida, one in Georgia, Savannah, Georgia. I
Okay.
have one in Pittsburgh, one in uh, Las Vegas, down by the strip.
Okay.
Um, but we want to get into the ground up play
Okay.
because the 90 days built-in equity, build for like maybe a buck 50, sell it for 250. We done check the comps, they 250 around here.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's a cold play right there.
Yeah.
But I wanted to know how I bridge my my money, or whatever the protocol is with me taking the property down. How do I bridge that with hard money? You guys.
Right. So quickly, so I'd say about 75% of the portfolio that we have is all new construction, right? Because of the shortage of homes, right? So that's the play we want to be in, especially Florida, right? So we run out of Florida, so we're able to be a lot more lenient on the process because we know the cities in Florida very well, right? So give you an example, a real life example. So if you have a lot, right? This example, you pay 50 grand for it, right? And you want to build a 3-2 on it, right? We'll come in, you own that lot already. You come to me and say, Sean, I got this lot. I got a home I want to build a 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom. And I'll tell you, it's going to cost you about $150,000 to build that 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom. You say, well, I got $50,000 into it. Can I use that property as equity? I'll say yes. We'll use some of that equity that you have in that land because it's yours, right? And we'll use it towards the construction costs. So at that point, when you're dealing with ground up construction, I don't know where you're at, but in Florida, we start with the leveling of the ground, we start with the blocks, and then we go into framing, right? Once you get to the blocks, you come to me and say, listen, I'm ready. And at that point, I fund 100% the rest of your construction costs, right? So at that point, you're not coming out of pocket. You may have came out of pocket for the first 15, 20 to get that land level, right? To get the blocks out there. Then I'm going to come in and fund the rest of the 100% for you.
Right. Now with the entitlements, are you there still, Sean?
Yeah, I'm right
Yeah.
here.
Now, I wanted to just ask you off the record.
Yeah,
What is the entitlement? So, like in California, the
yeah,
entitlement process is
it's crazy.
rigorous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we stay out of California, so very very few private lenders are going to lend to California for that reason. The process of building out there is insane. When you can get permits in certain places, certain counties, as you know, in Florida, it might take us a week or 2 weeks. Out there, it might take a year and a half. So it depends on the municipality, but Florida is very hard to get things done, get paperwork done, especially when you're pulling permits. So the steps in the ground up construction game is going to be land, right? grade the land, blocks, framing, but at first, your permits. So you can get all the permits. I'll still lend without getting your permits. And that's a good thing too. A lot of people won't do that. So we'll lend 65% of that process for you. So that way you don't have to come out of pocket. Sometimes permits can be 1,500, sometimes permits can be 15,000, as you know, depending on the municipality you go to. Some are cheaper and some are more expensive. So you want to figure that out as well. You have a general contractor in mind that you want to use,
Yeah,
Ruben?
I have a GC. I'm kind of familiar with, I guess it varies a little from state to state, as you stated with California, but I definitely would bring a GC in with a track record in that location for
Right.
one, because he probably already have a relationship with city planning on the
Right.
ground, boots on the ground in that particular city that I'm going to build in.
Right.
So to answer your question, yes,
Okay.
I would select one that's in that area that I'm
So the
building.
state of Florida got a couple of general contractors that work with us. Also, um, everything from the top, because at the end of the day, the time that and the money that it takes to hire an architect to draw your plans is money. You could cost $15,000, 25,000 out of pocket, right? With the GCs that we use, they already have the plans for the houses that have been approved. So you'll just be looking on the website and looking to see what house you want to build, right? They already been approved. So getting a permit for that property, it takes out the hard part. Because a lot of architects that are gonna draw plans for you, guess what they're gonna do? They're gonna listen to everything you're saying. They might have some understanding of that municipality, but they're just drawing what you're telling them to draw. So when you go down to the city, they present it. 9 times out of 10, I guarantee you, they're gonna hit them with a couple of things that need to be changed or fixed. With the approved homes that are already approved, those models, guess what? It's going through. The paperwork's coming right back out, and that's the difference.
Right. So where you been?
Hey man, I'm here. I'm right here.
Wow,
But
you guys sent, man. You
yeah,
guys sent. Wow.
yeah. So the process, is very, very when you're dealing with ground up construction, it's very quick as long as you have all these ducks in a row, right? As long as you got a GC that's done it before and has a track record. Our GCs, they have 20 years of experience. They got a lot of different models, right? They know most of the municipalities in the state of Florida, Georgia, and Tennessee, Nashville especially. So those are three states that we are heavy in as far as the leverage that we give. Now I landed all 48 states or 48 different states, but we're heavy in those three states because of the growth, right?
Mhm.
And the land is cheap.
Wow.
But I'll come
So the
back.
la-
But let me ask you a question. Your rental homes, what kind of loans are you in them right now? Are you in the DSCR,
no, just regular traditional loan, 30 year.
30-year fixes? Okay,
Yeah.
good, good, good. So you got it before the rates kind of went up.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
suggest something in the future when you start to get more rental properties. Always
Mm-hmm.
use a DSCR, a debt service loan. It's basically a rental loan. It's strictly for people like you that buy homes and rent them out. Because what it'll give you, the leverage it'll give you, if especially if it's not FHA or anything like that, the leverage is going to give you with us. You can come in with 15% down and take down any property. I don't care if it's a commercial apartment building or if it's a single family home. 15 to 20% is going to be the highest that you'll have to put down to take down that commercial or residential property. And at that point, as long as the rent is servicing the debt, everything is golden. I don't need anything from you. I don't need W-2s. I don't need your credit needs to be at a 660 because it's backed by the feds. But at the end of the day, I don't need much. I don't need to see your income where it comes from. I'm not going to ask you for your tax returns or anything like that. I need you to be at a 660 with that debt service loan, and we could put 100 of those on your bureau, right? You know how banks will
Wow.
only take 5 loans or 6 loans until they max you out because they're DTI. With a DSCR, I could put 100 of these on your bureau in a month if you're out to search for homes, and nothing will happen. You'll just have a bunch of loans that are servicing their own debt, so it makes it more comfortable. You can continue to keep growing, and nothing will stop. We're giving you 80% leverage, right? You kicking out with 20%, and you just keep rocking and rolling.
Wow.
So that's
Wow.
one of the biggest ways to grow a portfolio fast, right? Is a DSCR because you're using our leverage, but at the same time, all you're doing is seeking and finding. You got to have that at least that 20% right down, but you can take down any property in that same manner.
Wow. With the 20%, the liquid, I
27,
say the
yeah,
liquid to activate the Kool-Aid.
absolutely. There you go. Need that straw to stir it, and that's me to bring it together.
That's right. That's right. Wow.
So
Uh,
let me keep moving forward.
okay.
I want everybody to, just to get engaged, because the biggest thing is understanding what hard money can actually do versus, a traditional bank or a Wells Fargo or anything like that. So private money is going to give you the leverage to continue to grow and build, especially in the new construction world. And that's something I love, because I do a lot of new construction, and I love how it's able to put individuals in positions where they didn't think they can go. Right? I had a gentleman. He's down in Fort Myers. He's a young kid, and he bought these lots. Right? He had like 3 lots. They were all side by side. And at the end of the day, he came to me because he heard we got my information from somebody else, and he was obviously out of pocket. Right? All of his money was getting drained, but he couldn't finish the project because he was trying to do all 3 at once and trying to spend the money that way. And I said, listen, you own all the lots. You owned all the lots. We put a value on all the lots. Came out to like $150,000. And I said, you don't got to bring no more money to the table. I'm gonna show you what to do. We did each lot by itself at his own mortgage. Took that leverage from the what he's already did, because he already poured the foundation. He already did the rough end plumbing, right? You started doing the blocks already. So I said, listen, how much you spend? He said, I spent about 40 G's. So now you got, a lot that you paid 50, and then you spend 40. That's almost 90 G's. So at closing, right off the gate, I'm going to give you half of that. I'm going to give you $45,000 at closing. Don't bring nothing to closing. I'm gonna give you $45,000 cash, and then I'm gonna put the rest of that money that's gonna take to fix that property to continue, and I'm gonna put it on a draw schedule. Are you familiar with a draw schedule? So a draw schedule is like this: I gave you a loan for $150,000. I gave you $45,000 back at closing. The rest that you're gonna use to build it is gonna be we're gonna hold it. So every time you do another step, you did the blocks for 15,000. You come to us. Here goes the $15,000 in 24 hours. You start doing the framing. That costs you $20,000. You give us the receipt. Take a picture. You submit it. We give you the $20,000 the next day. So that's how it works. That's the draw schedule. And that's you're able how to grow through doing new construction. And that's for him. It's like he ran out of money. He had no more pocket money, but he had property, and he had a project right in front of him with the pictures he showed me. Actually, I drove down there to Fort Myers, but that's how you leverage it when you're dealing with new construction. And it's not as hard as people think. It's just steps that it takes to get to the end, right? And how to use how to leverage the money. Because not every private lender is going to have the same solution, right? Know that, because the money is in your hand, but now we have to solve this problem, right? Not everybody's going to have the same problem. So, and that's why it's easy to leverage this hard money, and easy to leverage private money, because you look at every solution, and I've done it enough to know that most of the problems are kind of the same. There might be a little difference here and there, but at the end of the day, we know how to solve problems. Once you know how to solve somebody's problem, that's how you put them in a bigger position to keep moving forward.
Right. Wow.
So I kind of went over the basics of banks versus hard money, because you got to understand what they are. They're an institution that's backed by individuals and consumers, and they have a board member. So their guidelines are being super strict. Our guidelines, I'll say they're strict, but they're loose, so that way you're able to make money, right, in return. And as you know, you're an investor, so when you're dealing with rates, you know rates don't particularly matter if you're in it to flip a property, right? If you're in it to flip a property, if you know that you just spent $100,000, you borrowed $100,000, but once you fix this property up, you spend $100,000, you're gonna make $400,000. Does a 10% rate or a 13 or 15% rate? It doesn't matter, because you only spend an extra $300 to $500. But people who are looking at rate conscious things, they're like, well, that's a high rate, but you flip, $300,000 within the last 6 months. So does a couple of $100 really matter a month that you're paying? So that's what you really want to start focusing on, and what I can do with this money. How fast is going to be, am I going to be able to flip this money, right? So that way you're able to be limited. And most people, most investors that we deal with, they're not rate conscious. They're just like, okay, give me the money, because they know what they do. They know the end result before they take the money, right? So they already have the vision of how they're going to sell it, how long it's going to take them to sell it, and they're already counting their profit, right? Our money is out of the way already, because they're already counting this in when they first took the money, right? Not after they took it. They're waiting and sweating every day to pay us back. So, I start where in the beginning, These are 12-month loans, right? Most of your fix and flip loans, most of your bridge loans, all your bridge loans are going to be 12 months. Get to 18 months is going to be a construction loan. If the project, you have, a subdivision going in, you got 10 houses in that subdivision, it's going to take a little bit more time. And we'll give you an extension up to 18 months. But typically, 90% of these loans fall into a 12-month interest only category. We're not going to have any prepayment penalties on there, so we're not going to penalize you for paying it off early. We just want you to get to the next deal so we can lend you more money.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So
great.
cost always going to outweigh the higher rates, right? What you're going to make, your profit is always going to outweigh rates. That's why I tell people is don't be so much rate conscious because you're taking somebody's money. You're not taking Wells Fargo's money. You're not taking Bank of America's money. You're taking the individual's money who actually wrote a check in their office and cashed it and gave you the money and wired the rest of the money to you. So understand they got to make money off their money. So when you start looking at rates, or where else you're going to go to get this type of money without using your credit score to the, you don't need a 780 credit score.
Right.
You don't need, a lot of different things that these banks are required. So it doesn't really matter. What matters is you get to the next bag, right? You start stacking your money. That's what matters because that's the way you grow.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the end result and not the result, not what's going on right now, the second, because that soon shall pass, right? 3 months later, you got a brand new house that you just built from the ground up, and now you just sold it and made double. So that's what you want to look for, the end result.
Yep.
So the basic loan types that I provide, that most hard money lenders provide, are going to fall into these categories: fix and flip, a bridge loan, a DSCR we just talked about, a ground up construction loan, or a refinance loan. Those are the basic foundations of hard money and private money. All of your real estate is going to fall or lie in between one of these type of loans. Now, whether or not, where you're at in your life, if you already own a property, investment property, you're trying to pull money out, that's going to fall to the refinance land, right? You're going to leverage that money to go buy another property. Your fix and flip loans. And like I said, I'm going to do this every week. So every week you'll learn a little bit more. And I'll always keep these recorded so that way you can go back and listen to them and at your own leisure. I tend to talk a little fast, but sometimes you got to tell me to slow down because I get excited. I get excited for what I do because I love seeing people growing something or building something from nothing and get to another place where they never thought they could be by leveraging our money. And that's what the exciting part is watching people. Like you said, you did what? You said you could give me $100,000 and I only got this small piece of land. Yes, but that thing that you're going to build on that small piece of land, we know the end result of it. We know how much you can sell it for. So the vision is everything. Vision is everything.
Wow.
So, I'm sorry.
I had a question in regards to like the recordings. So I need to go in for, what do I need to do to get the recordings?
So the recording, you'll be inside that membership area. You'll see all the recordings. Like right now, you'll see the hard money class that's free. You go in there and click on it. All these classes, everything that we're talking about right now will be free. So everything I say and do or record with you guys, it'll be free. You can always go back. And again, you can always constantly reach out to me. Constantly reach out to me through this community. Just text me, send me a quick message. I'll answer that. But if you're not trying to get a deal done, don't bother me during the day.
That's right. That's right.
But you
like you said, time is money.
Yeah,
time
but
is money.
You can reach out to me. I chat with you, all that good stuff all day. If it's a small, quick question, absolutely. You just send it over to me, and I'll take care of it.
Excellent.
Does anybody have any questions? I know you probably have a lot of questions. So now I just want to get out the way the basics, right, of hard money and private money and how you utilize it. And every week, I think I'll go a little bit more deeper into like actual deals, right, that I'm actually doing. So you can see yourself and say, okay, I recognize that. Or once you understand terminology like CLTV, right, or LTV and ARTV, and all those different terminologies that you're going to want to know and understand. So that way you're able to really be aggressive in what you're trying to accomplish.
Right.
There's a lot of different terminologies that within this whole community, but until you understand what they actually mean, I'll be talking Chinese or foreign language that you don't understand. I want to make sure that you understand everything I'm talking about. And when you come to a deal, I want to make sure if you come to me with a deal or I want to explain something to you, or you want to price, you want to price something out for me, I'll take a look at it, but I'm going to talk to you in that language, But I'll break it down for you, but I'd rather you know and understand everything I'm saying so that way you're better equipped to make a great decision.
Okay. Sounds good.
Good, good. Kimberly,
Well,
I see my sister on here.
I see her name in a picture.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, Kimberly, this is what's your first name? Deborah?
Diana.
Diana Crosby?
Yes. I went
Yeah.
to school as Thompson.
Oh, okay. How you doing?
Hi, I'm good, thank you.
Good. Yeah. Where are you now?
I'm still in Bayshore, New
Wow.
York. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you made it on.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad to be here to be a part of this.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, it's
So like I
all
said,
good.
any more questions, Ruben, or anybody have any questions? I'll
Um,
notes.
maybe just so with okay, I take down the land snapshot. I take the land down. We do the permits. We do the entitlements. We say out here, you do the entitlements, and then I get the grading done. Then once I get the grading done, we do the roughs. We do the roughs on the tops.
So depending on where you're at building, right? It's going to be depending on what state of state you're building. It's going to determine a lot of that, right? It's going to determine, um, what type of permits you're going to need. Obviously, for us to lend, sometimes we'll need the permits approved, right? The cleared entitlements, and the model that you're going to be building. It has to be stamped, right? Those are three things we're going to need. We don't need, in other instances, if you want a lower leverage, right? LTV, I can get, you don't need the permits, right? You don't need the land to be purchased. You don't need the entitlements done. I'll give you 6 months to do that, but I'll still fund, right, the purchase of the property while you go out and get the actual permitting. So we won't start the loan process as far as asking you for the money back for at least 6 months, depending on when you get those permits. But obviously, you're not going to wait 6 months, unless it actually takes that long. But we'd rather start the project as soon as those permits come in, then we'll grab the ground money, and then you'll start paying. Because we don't want you to pay for money that you're not utilizing. It doesn't make sense for us at the same time. So that's a lower leverage. It's going to be 65% LTV, loan to value. Just so I can explain to everybody. So LTV is loan to value. So we're going to give him a loan to the value of that end result of that property, right? Also, ARV is going to be your loan after repair value. So after it's repaired or built, that's going to be the value, the ARV. So we're always going to ask for somebody for, the ARV. So what is that property going to sell for? What's the ARV on it? What's it sell for me? And today it's only worth 500,000. So we're more concerned with the after repair value than the today value, because we know that once you put $100,000 of our money into it or $200,000 of our money into it, and we know the type of repairs that have to be done, because you're going to give us what they call a scope of work. You're going to give us a list of everything that you're going to do to that property to get it to that $1 million. So there's a lot of things we'll discuss further. I don't want to go too far because each type of loan is going to have its own explanation, right? Every type of project that you're trying to get into is going to have its own explanation. There's no one size fits all when it comes to private money. It's almost like, once you hear somebody else's deal that they're trying to accomplish, it's not going to sound like your deal. And no deals ever go smooth. Like nothing easy. It never goes smooth. There's always going to be some hiccups, but I can tell you with somebody experienced, it's going to, you're going to be all right and get it done.
Wow. I would say I have a property in Panama City, Florida.
Okay.
Right down from Destin.
Yep. I got a deal going on in Milton right now. Milton, Florida. It's right near Baghdad, right outside of about 45 minutes outside of Destin. Got a couple of ground up construction projects going on out there.
Is that up by like Santa Rosa?
Santa Rosa?
Yeah, that's over there too. That's right up above Destin too.
Okay. Yeah, Pensacola area is hot.
Yeah.
There's some new builds out there. Right off of I-10. Yeah, a little bit off of I-10. Got some projects going on over there, but definitely Panama City is dope. You talking about land or you talking about ground up?
Some land ground up. Yeah, it's booming out there. Margarita built a bunch of stuff out there, Margaritaville and them.
Okay.
They built a lot of stuff. Yeah. That
Grab
place is
some,
dope. You know,
tell me, look, grab some lots out there, right? Or not. Either way, just identify them, send them to me. I'll do some pricing on it for you. That way you know what you're looking at. Our GC, he has some subcontractors in Pensacola, Destin, pretty much the whole state of Florida. There's three GCs that we work with. I got one in the Southern Florida, two in Southern Florida from Miami down to Fort Myers, up through Sarasota. Then we have the whole Orlando quadrant going to Tampa, and then out west. So that whole state we can cover it without a problem. Also Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, we can cover Atlanta as well, and Nashville.
yeah, I was thinking Florida. I mean, Fayetteville, Georgia.
Yep.
Yeah, over there too. That's right outside Atlanta.
Yeah. I used to live in Atlanta for some years. So yeah, that whole area, like I said, the leverage will be a lot higher because we know the landscape out there. So when I say the leverage will be higher, for instance, on a fix and flip, I can do 90% on the purchase. So you come down with 10%, and I can do 90% on the rehab. Most times, if you've done it before, if you can show me that you've done a fix and flip before, I can get you 100% of the rehab taken care of without a problem. And I was only asking for 10% down on the purchase.
Wow.
Yeah, so the leverage is a lot higher. Same thing in Florida, same thing in Nashville, Tennessee, because we know that property is going to sell, right? There's a high, I wouldn't do this to somebody in Wyoming or, South Dakota or anything like that. But, places that are high markets and the sales are going through, you got more than 10 sales within the zip code in 6 months, all day long, higher leverage because we know it's going to come back to us.
What about the Carolinas?
South Carolina, North Carolina, so there's two different products, right? There's rural and there's going to be city, right? Rural property, I would say we can get it done. Your leverage is not going to be as good, right? Your LTV is going to go down, so you might have to come up with 40%, right? Versus coming up with 80% in the city area. Versus coming up with 20% in a more metropolitan area. Like South Carolina gets the name of Columbia. Spartanburg is now booming. They have a nice epicenter down there. So there's those places that are in South and North Carolina. You want to stay near the cities, right? We don't want to be, 60 miles away from Spartanburg, farmland. That's nothing that we would not touch. We won't touch anything like that.
Wow, got it. I took a note. I have family out there in North Carolina and South Sumter and Columbia,
Okay.
South Carolina and Charlotte. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, those are all major cities. So we have no problem lending out there. Like I said, the leverage is everything. When you get into private money, the leverage is going to be everything, right? Your LTV is going to be everything. How much are we going to loan to the value of the property? That's going to be your thing that you're going to constantly dig in your head because that's how you're going to be able to identify properties that you're going to bring to me or somebody else. Just be able to identify it a lot easier. It'll make the deal go a lot smoother.
So the LTV will be
The loan to
predicated
value.
upon loan to value will be predicated upon the after repair value of the even if it's ground up.
Yeah. And the same thing with fix and flip.
Wow.
Same thing with the fix and flip. So the same exact thing. Yeah, the loan to value is going to be determined based on that's going to be how much we can lend you. So it all depends on experience. Is always going to give you a higher loan to value. Experience is number one, right? I can do somebody that only did this one time or it's their first time at it. You're just going to have a higher risk. So we're going to value it a lot lower. So we're going to give you a lower LTV, like in that 70 percentile. You have to bring 30% to the table. But you have 1 or 2 ground up constructions, 80%, 90% all day long without a problem. So it's all depends. Once you start doing it more than once, your leverage is going to get better, right? The credit is not going to be a factor because your experience is going to supersede all that. Once you brought the money back one time, you're open, right? the bank is open at that point. Until you prove that you can borrow a certain amount of cash and pay it back. Especially with private lenders, that's what they love. They want to see coming in, going right back out, coming in, going right back out. So there's a limit, there's a quota that has to be met. A lot of times, in my circumstance, the money is coming from Wall Street, right, from a hedge fund. So they'll say we need to get rid of this, $400 million this month. We need you to get out. We need you to get it out. We need to move it because they're looking at interest. They're to see how much interest is going to be made. And a lot of times, they'll be a lot more lenient on the leverage. Like give him 75%. Let's just get it through the door. They don't flip the house, especially if somebody's not coming with all the down, I wouldn't say down payment, but cash reserves. There's not much of the down payment as the cash reserves. We want to make sure that you have at least 6 months interest payments that you're able to pay to cover the loan there. I know I'm talking off on a tangent, so just stop me anytime, anybody. If you got any questions?
Oh no, you a breath of fresh air. Yep. 6 months interest, reserve capital.
Right. So if the loan amount is $100,000, right, you're paying $1,000 a month, we want to see that you have at least 6 months in the bank. So we want a snapshot of the account balance. And if you have $6,000 in the bank, that satisfies our liquidity option. There's always going to be liquidity mark that you have to meet. So whether it be 6 months or 7 months liquidity, that's what the underwriter's going to ask for. We want to see how much liquidity you have, but not necessarily you bringing it to the table. We want to make sure it's in the bank. A lot of times somebody will get somebody to put a buttload of cash in their account. We need it to be sourced. Where did you get the money from? Because it just came in your account 2 days ago when we get ready to close the loan. So typically we'll ask for a bank statement 30 days prior to that month that you close it. That way they can see to make sure that somebody just didn't lend you the money real quick just to satisfy that reserve that was requested.
That's proof of funds.
Proof of funds, yeah, or just seasonality. They want the money to be seasoned. Like if somebody asks us, how long has it been seasoned? Well, it's been seasoned for 30 days. It's been sitting in the account for at least 30 days. And they love that. And they say, well, how long has it been seasoned? And you say, well, it's been there for 5 days. And they're like, well, that might be an issue. Because they know the money came from somewhere else. Unless you can source it and say, well, I just got this big check. Or unless it came from. And another good thing is I'll talk about this down the line as far as LLCs being created. You can only close a private loan in an LLC capacity, right? Or business capacity or trust. We'll close it in a trust or a business entity. And what the advantage of that is for individuals like yourself, you might have 3 people in your organization. One person has bad credit, right? Another person has a 780, and this person has experience because they flipped 5 houses. So guess what? We take all that experience and now you form an entity. Now you're straight. You have your credit guy, you have your fix and flip guy with experience. Now nothing can really stop you. So that entity is rich in information or rich in value versus one person. So a lot of times an entity that's moving through a lot of projects, they'll hire a general contractor in their organization. I always suggest that. Get with a general contractor, put them in your organization at 51%, right? Every deal, you can always pull them back down, right? All you got to do is amend it to get a new operating agreement. And typically it doesn't cost you anything to do that, but put them at 51% and put everybody else at a lower percentage. Now he's driving the ship. He's got all the experience. He's got the credit score. And guess what? All you're doing is coming up with the down payment. He's running through all the projects. And that's the way to build a strong entity, especially when you get into this real estate game. You need people that are in that entity with the strength to move through these challenges very quickly. It's either going to be a credit challenge or an experience challenge. Those are the only 2 things that's going to come down to it to get you the maximum leverage, credit or experience. If you got both, as a general contractor in your organization, there's nothing that can't stop you at this point because you're just running down deals.
Wow. Wow, I just keep saying, I know it sounds redundant, but you're a breath of fresh air. It's like, and I like the clarity because, a lot of people explain things, but they don't give clarity. You give such clarity on everything.
Let's try to give real life experience, you know what I'm saying? Because the underwriter, I talk to underwriters so much and I always go through challenges. Those challenges are the things that can, provide people so that they don't make the same mistakes or they're equipped, right, with the knowledge to keep jumping through these hoops because they're going to be challenges, right? The biggest challenge is what I just talked about is, having an entity and everybody's poor in knowledge, poor in finance, and poor in credit, and then poor in experience. Even though they got a business entity, it doesn't do anything for you unless you got, those key pieces inside your organization.
Wow, that you more and more you speaking. You building a film. I don't know if you know anything about the film industry, but
No.
you just built a film. You got to have somebody on time, on budget. That's your accountant. And
Yep.
you got to have an experienced producer for you to get a minimum guarantee from the brass over there at the major studio to obtain your distribution.
Okay.
And you gotta have a track record. They
Look,
want
you
you to
tell your
bring some
background story there,
skin.
Ruben. You in the film
Yeah.
industry?
Yeah, I was in the films. Yeah, I worked at
Okay.
DreamWorks Films doing line producer work.
Oh, beautiful, man. Beautiful.
Yeah, so I know how to structure a deal. But
Okay.
it sounds like he's structuring it's all like some of the same principles, like
Yeah.
with the track record. If you ain't played before, you got to go get another producer, even though it's your baby. You
Yeah.
need to go get another producer to have guardrails on before they even gonna take you serious.
Absolutely. Same thing. It's, you're asking somebody to lend you a certain amount of money. If you're
Right.
asking somebody to lend you a certain amount of money or have faith in your project, that project has to be strong with experience, right?
That's
You
right.
we can still get it done, but we're not going to give you as much as you want, right?
Right.
And it might not come out as good as you want it to be, So
Right.
it's the same concept, same principles. There's a lot of different things that we could talk about every week, and because at the end of the day, real life challenges happen in this business, and the only way to provide, I try to avoid all of them now because I know if somebody tells me this, I want to go buy this house, I want to do this, I can recognize very quickly in the first 5 minutes of talking to you or just looking at the paperwork you send me, it's going to be a no or it's going to be a yes. So I try not to, get bogged down on things that are not going to work. It's better for them to know what's going to work. That's why I'm trying to teach as much as I possibly can. So that if you know what's going to work, you're going to come to me, hitting things out of the park all day long. We won't be stuck in the knife edge and tied up, and everybody's hitting ground walls and nobody's scoring. We don't want to do that. We want to hit the home run right off the gate, and that's a play file. And that's what I want to try to teach people, to give them the best knowledge so they're able to close deals faster and understand what works and what doesn't work.
Wow. And you're in Tampa, right?
I'm in Tampa, yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
But yeah, anytime you
Wow.
can chat with me, like I said, I'll respond back really quickly. It's been an hour. I love doing it so much. I can go for another hour. But at the end of the day, I don't want to take up any more of your time. And, I got a grandson out in the living room I got to go tend to. I hear him hitting the damn wall right now. So I got to get out there and go hang out with him for a little bit. But I appreciate everything. Yeah.
I'm gonna definitely see you next Thursday. This is very, very fruitful, and God
Same
bless you
time.
for this knowledge.
Yes,
God bless
thank
you, man.
you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate you.
No
I
problem.
appreciate this. And I think I will learn something, and I think I will be able to produce something out of this.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I will be continuing.
Beautiful,
Me
beautiful.
too.
And again, just like I said, this conversation that we're having now,
Uh-huh.
it'll be right in the membership area. Just go ahead and listen to it anytime you want.
Okay.
And everyone after that will be the same way. We'll make
Okay.
sure it's available immediately, so that way you guys can refresh yourself or whatever. But just have as many questions as you need to ask me. Just ask them, because that's what I'm here to do, to educate you. That way you're better. You can be a better client, right? At the end of the day, and also be able to provide generational wealth if you plan to get into real estate for a long term, to build this type of value for yourself. So that's why I'm here. So anything you need, you got my chat box up there. Just hit me anytime. A lot of you got my cell phone number. So whatever it takes, if you need an immediate to get in touch with me, just pick up the phone. I'll pick it up.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, thank you. I'll see you next week.
Okay.
Just hit me up during the week. All right.
All right. Have a good week.
Okay.
Have a good
Thank you,
day.
man.
You too.
God bless.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Sean.
Take care, Kimberly. Love you.
Talk to you later.
I will talk to you soon.
Love you too. Bye.